The small town of Gorleben in northern Germany will not become a nuclear waste repository, but 90 other areas all over the country are still contenders. This is the conclusion of the interim report of a supervisory board looking into the issue. The so-called sub-areas have been proposed due to their geological characteristics.
In this first step, we have found that 54% of the German territory is potentially suitable for permanent storage. This means that any area now shown will not automatically become a permanent site.
The salt dome in Gorleben in Lower Saxony, which was planned as a nuclear waste repository in the 70s, is now out of the question. The site had been fiercely contested for decades. In the coming months and years, the possible sites will gradually be narrowed down further by taking other criteria such as population density into account. The site must be found by 2031, and from 2050 nuclear waste will begin to be stored underground. A dispute over the possible site is already emerging, even before the presentation of the interim report. Bavaria has already declared that no waste will be stored in the state.
Germany made the decision to turn its back on nuclear power following the Fukushima disaster in Japan in 2011, and its final reactors will be taken off the grid in 2022. But this does leave, of course, the big question of what to do with decades of nuclear waste. Germany's been using nuclear power since the 1960s. Now, the issue of nuclear power and indeed storing its waste has been a huge political issue in Germany for that time, for decades now. It led to the foundation of the Green Party here in the 1970s. And so it's a very hot issue here. So the BGE, the company that has been tasked with finding a permanent storage site for the waste, knows that it has to tread very carefully, which is why it's taking 11 years to find a suitable permanent storage site. It says it wants the final decision to be made on the back of geological and scientific decisions rather than political. But over this 11 years, it's going to start exploration into possible sites, as well as, of course, constantly consulting civilian groups as well as local politicians. It hopes it can continue to placate people, but of course nobody really wants Germany's nuclear waste stored in their backyard. In 2018, Bavaria ruled itself out, saying we are not a suitable location for nuclear waste. We had Berlin raise some eyebrows yesterday about the fact that 3 locations in Berlin were named as possible permanent locations for nuclear waste. But ultimately, it's not going to be up to these states to decide. It's going to be up to the parliament here in Berlin in 2031 to make the final decision. Now, Germany, as I said, has had a very difficult and dark relationship with nuclear waste over the past decades, but is hoping to turn this around because, of course, no other country apart from Finland has actually in the world managed to find a nuclear permanent storage site and make it work within their own country. So Germany is hoping by making this decision, and if they can make it work, they will be setting somewhat of a global precedent.